Before we begin our story, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more, and drop a comment with your feedback on our stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts. On the surface of Ylara, Commander Tal's team had made remarkable progress. The initial meeting with Sental Pharaoh had led to a gathering of the Tribal Confederation's Leadership Council, 12 Ylara elders representing the major regions of the planet. To the team's surprise, the revelation of extraterrestrial life and the impending Zyphar threat had been met not with panic but with grim determination. "Your arrival fulfills the prophecy of the seventh convergence," explained Elder Zira, her skin shifting to deep indigo as she addressed the assembled council. "When the twin moons align for the seventh time in a great cycle, the guardians would come from beyond the stars to stand with us against the devourers of souls." Dr. Venn, who had been documenting the meeting, looked up sharply. "This prophecy, how old is it?" "It was carved into the Crystal Temple 10,000 seasons ago," Pharaoh replied. "Long before our recorded history." Mira and Ylara exchanged meaningful glances. The implications were staggering. Either the Ylara had remarkable predictive abilities, or someone had visited this world before, leaving warnings of the Zyphar. "Regardless of prophecy," Mira said carefully, "the threat is real and imminent. Our ship has engaged Zyphar scout vessels, but their main fleet will arrive soon. We need to prepare your people." Elder Krell, a battle-scarred Ylara with crystalline growths covering half his face, leaned forward. "We are not warriors by nature, Commander. Our weapons are ceremonial, our defenses designed for predators, not invaders from the stars." "We don't expect you to fight as we do," Mira assured him. "But your world has resources and technologies that can be adapted. Lieutenant Kale has been analyzing your crystal steam infrastructure." Kale stepped forward, his neural implants glowing as he projected a holographic display from his wrist device. "Your crystal matrices store and amplify energy in ways similar to our quantum capacitors, though much less efficient. With modifications, we could create a planetary defense network using your existing technology as a foundation." "Such modifications would take months," objected Elder Voss, her skin pulsing with skeptical yellow patterns. "Not necessarily," came a new voice. Chief Engineer Rowe entered the chamber, escorted by Ylara guards. She carried a large case of equipment and wore an expression of barely contained excitement. "Captain Vance sent me to assist. I've brought prototype adapters that should accelerate the process considerably." Mira raised an eyebrow. "The captain was supposed to remain in orbit. Plans changed when we engaged the Zyphar scouts," Rowe explained, already unpacking her equipment. "We've bought some time, but the main fleet will be here within days. The Aegis is maintaining stealth orbit and deploying sensor buoys throughout the system to give us early warning." As Rowe began explaining her technical concepts to the fascinated Ylara, Dr. Venn pulled Mira aside. "Commander, I've been studying the Ylara biological samples," she said in a low voice. "There's something remarkable about their biochemistry. Their cellular structure contains crystalline formations similar to those they use in their technology, a form of biological quantum entanglement." "Meaning what, exactly?" Mira asked. "Meaning they may have natural defenses against Zyphar assimilation," Ylara explained, her eyes bright with scientific excitement. "The Zyphar consume individuality by rewriting neural patterns through nanite infection. But the Ylareans' crystalline cellular structure might naturally disrupt that process. Mira considered this information. Could we weaponize that property? Lyra hesitated. Possibly. But it would require extensive testing, and the ethical implications. We're already deep in ethical gray areas, Doctor, Mira reminded her. If there's a way to protect these people using their own biological advantages, we need to explore it. Before Lyra could respond, Lieutenant Kale approached, his expression troubled. Commander, I've detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the settlement. Something's coming. The chamber fell silent as the Ylaree elders sensed the tension among the humans. Sental Thero rose, his skin shifting to a deep, alarming red. The dreamers have sensed it too, he said gravely. A presence. Not Zyphar, but something else. Myra's hand moved to her sidearm. Kale, specifics. Humanoid life sign, but with extensive cybernetic modifications, Kale reported, his implants pulsing rapidly. Moving directly toward the temple. Alone. Defensive positions, Mira ordered. Row, secure your equipment. Dr. Ven, stay with the elders. As the team prepared for a potential threat, the massive crystal doors of the chamber swung open. Standing in the entrance was a figure that caused both humans and Ylaree to freeze in shock. That it appeared humanoid but was clearly not human. Its body was a seamless integration of flesh and Zyphar biotechnology, chitinous exoskeletal components merged with pale skin, pulsing with the same bioluminescent energy that characterized Zyphar warforms. Yet its face, though partially covered with implants, was recognizably individualistic, something no true Zyphar drone would possess. I am Commander Zell, the figure announced in a voice that seemed to struggle between mechanical monotone and emotional inflection. I come seeking asylum from the Dominion. Myra's weapon remained trained on the intruder. You're Zyphar. I was Zyphar, Zell corrected. Now I am something else. A mutation in the neural link allowed me to develop independent thought. There are others like me, a resistance within the hive. We seek freedom from the collective. Sental Thero stepped forward, ignoring Myra's warning gesture. The Ylaree leader studied the cybernetic being with his multifaceted eyes. The prophecy speaks of this as well, he said softly. The divided one who walks between worlds. Zell's partially mechanical eyes focused on Thero. I know nothing of prophecies. I know only that the Dominion plans to consume your world and all who dwell upon it. I have information that could help prevent this, tactical data, fleet movements, vulnerabilities in Zyphar defenses. And why would you betray your own kind? Mira demanded, still suspicious. They are not my kind, Zell replied, a flash of emotion, something like anger, crossing his partially mechanical features. They would destroy me for the aberration I represent. Individuality is anathema to the hive mind. I seek not only to save your world but to find a place where others like me might exist without persecution. Mira and Lyra exchanged glances, both recognizing the parallels to Captain Vance's own mission of redemption. The commander lowered her weapon slightly. If you're telling the truth, your information could save billions of lives, she acknowledged. But if this is a trick, it is no trick, Zell interrupted. The Dominion believes this world is undefended. They do not know of your presence yet. When they discover it, they will send not scouts but the World Eater, their largest assimilation vessel. You have perhaps 3 of your days before it arrives. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs among the Ylara elders. Chief Engineer Rowe pushed her way forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming caution. "This neural mutation you mentioned," she said, studying Zell with undisguised fascination. "Was it spontaneous or induced?" "Unknown," Zell replied. "It began after an encounter with a crystalline asteroid in the Cygnus sector. Several drones, myself included, were affected. Most were terminated when the aberration was discovered. Some of us escaped." Lyra's eyes widened. "Crystalline, like the Ylara cellular structure." She turned to Mira. "Commander, this could be the connection we're looking for. If Sci-Fi neural systems are vulnerable to disruption by these crystalline formations, then we might have a weapon," Mira finished. She studied Zell for a long moment before coming to a decision. "You'll remain under guard while we verify your information. If it proves accurate, we'll discuss asylum." Zell inclined his head in acceptance. "Time is short. The World Eater approaches." As the strange visitor was escorted to a secure area, Mira activated her communicator. "Captain Vance, this is Commander Tao. We have a situation planetside. A Zyphar defector has made contact, warning of an imminent large-scale attack. Request immediate conference." "Understood, Commander," Vance's voice replied, tension evident even through the calm static. "I'm sending a shuttle. We need to accelerate our timetable. The battle for Ylara is about to begin in earnest." The following days saw feverish activity across Ylara. Under Chief Engineer Rowe's guidance, the Yalari's crystal steam infrastructure was rapidly modified to create a planetary defense network. The crystalline formations that dotted the landscape, previously used for communication and power generation, were repurposed as energy projection nodes capable of disrupting Zyphar neural systems. Captain Vance had established a command center in the Crystal Temple, coordinating with both his ship in orbit and the Ylara defense forces being hastily assembled across the planet. The information provided by Commander Zell had proven accurate, allowing them to prepare targeted countermeasures against specific Zyphar attack strategies. Dr. Venn worked tirelessly in a makeshift laboratory, studying the interaction between Ylara crystalline biology and Zyphar neural systems. With samples provided by Zell, who had cautiously been granted limited freedom under constant supervision, she had developed a prototype biological disruptor that could potentially sever the connection between Zyphar drones and the hive mind. Lieutenant Kale had deployed his reconnaissance drones throughout the Ylarean system, creating an early warning network that would alert them the moment the Zyphar fleet arrived. His enhanced neural capabilities allowed him to process the vast amounts of incoming data, identifying patterns that might have been missed by conventional analysis. Commander Tal had taken charge of training the Ylara in basic defense tactics. Though not natural warriors, the Ylara proved remarkably adaptable, their innate connection to their crystalline technology allowing them to quickly master the modified weapons Rowe had designed. As the preparations neared completion, Vance called his senior officers and key Ylara leaders to a final strategy session. The holographic display in the center of the temple showed the Ylarean system, with projected Zyphar approach vectors highlighted in red. According to Commander Zell's intelligence and our own sensor data, the Zyphar World Eater will arrive within 12 hours, Vance began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. This isn't just another warship, it's a mobile assimilation factory capable of processing an entire planet's population. The hologram shifted to show a massive, irregular structure that resembled a hybrid of insect hive and mechanical fortress, surrounded by smaller escort vessels. Our strategy has 3 phases, Vance continued. First, the Aegis will engage the escort vessels, drawing them away from Ylara and disrupting their formation. Meanwhile, our modified defense network will activate, creating a crystalline energy field around the planet that should interfere with Zyphar neural communications. Sental Thero, who had proven to be a valuable ally and strategic thinker, spoke up. And if they penetrate the shield? That's Phase 2, Mira explained. Ground defense. Your warriors, equipped with the crystal disruptors we've developed, will engage any Zyphar forces that make landfall. The crystalline properties of your world naturally interfere with their assimilation nanites, giving us a significant advantage in ground combat. And Phase 3, asked Elder Krell, who had emerged as the leader of the Ylara Defense Forces. Vance's expression grew grim. Phase 3 is Operation Last Light. A direct assault on the World Eater itself. He nodded to Lieutenant Kale, who took over the briefing. I'll lead a small strike team, including Commander Zell, in a stealth insertion into the World Eater's central node, Kale explained, his neural implants glowing as he manipulated the holographic display to show the interior of the massive Zyphar vessel. Once inside, we'll deploy Dr. Ven's biological disruptor directly into the ship's neural network. If successful, it should sever the connection between the World Eater and the hive mind, neutralizing the threat. And if unsuccessful? Elder Voss asked, her skin pulsing with concerned purple hues. Then we fall back to conventional warfare, Vance replied honestly. A battle of attrition that will be costly. The room fell silent as both humans and Ylara contemplated the stakes. Finally, Sental Thero spoke, his voice resonating with quiet authority. For 10,000 seasons, our people have awaited this moment. The prophecy speaks not only of the threat but of victory, at great sacrifice. He turned to Vance. Whatever comes, Captain, know that Ylara stands with you. Vance nodded, a silent understanding passing between the two leaders. Then we have our strategy. Return to your posts and prepare your teams. The battle for Ylara begins at dawn. As the meeting dispersed, Dr. Ven approached Vance privately. Captain, a word. Vance nodded, leading her to a quiet alcove of the temple. What is it, Ylara? The biological disruptor, she said, her voice low. It's more potent than I initially reported. Based on my latest tests, it won't just sever the connection to the hive mind, it could potentially destroy the entire neural network. Billions of connected Zyphar consciousnesses, simply gone. Vance's expression remained neutral, but his eyes betrayed his inner conflict. You're talking about genocide. I'm talking about a weapon of mass destruction, Ylara corrected. One that targets a specific neural pattern. The ethical implications are significant. Do we have alternatives? Ylara hesitated. I've developed a modified version that would disrupt rather than destroy, potentially freeing the connected consciousnesses rather than eliminating them. Like what happened to Commander Zell, but on a massive scale. Creating billions of suddenly independent beings who have never known individual existence, Vance mused. Is that mercy or a different kind of cruelty? I don't know, Ylara admitted. But I thought you should have the choice. Vance was silent for a long moment, the weight of the decision evident in his posture. Prepare both versions. I'll make the final call when the time comes. As Ylara nodded and departed, Vance remained in the alcove, staring at the ancient crystalline carvings that depicted the prophecy of the seventh convergence. The stylized images showed beings from the stars battling shadowy entities that consumed all in their path. The final panel depicted either victory or destruction. The abstract nature of Ilari art made it ambiguous, victory at great sacrifice, Thero had said. Vance couldn't help but wonder what sacrifice the prophecy demanded, and whether he was prepared to pay it. The Zyphar arrived with the dawn, just as predicted. The World Eater emerged from subspace at the edge of the Ylarean system, a massive structure that dwarfed its escort vessels. Shaped like a grotesque hybrid of insect hive and mechanical fortress, its surface writhed with constant movement as drones and smaller craft moved across its biomechanical skin. On the bridge of the Aegis, now decloaked and ready for battle, Captain Vance watched the tactical display with grim determination. All hands, battle stations, he ordered. Shields at maximum. Weapons systems online. Deploy quantum disruptors. The Aegis surged forward, its engines flaring as it accelerated toward the Zyphar fleet. The element of surprise gave them a momentary advantage. The Zyphar had not expected to encounter a UTF warship in this unaligned system. Target the escort vessels, Vance commanded. Fire at will. The Aegis opened fire, its advanced weapons systems unleashing a barrage of quantum disruptors and particle beams. Two Zyphar escorts were caught unprepared, their hulls breaching as the disruptors destabilized their molecular structure. But the remaining escorts quickly adapted, their biomechanical systems reconfiguring to resist the attack. They're responding, Lieutenant Commander Sato reported. Escort vessels moving to intercept. The World Eater is continuing toward Ylara. As expected, Vance replied. Evasive pattern Omega. Keep their attention on us. The Aegis banked sharply, executing a complex series of maneuvers designed to draw the Zyphar escorts away from their mothership. The plan worked, the escorts pursued, their weapons systems firing a constant stream of energy projectiles and corrosive spores. Shields holding at 70%, reported the tactical officer. Minor damage to Port Nacelle. Return fire. Target their propulsion systems, Vance ordered. Lieutenant Chen, signal Commander Tal to activate the planetary defense network. On the surface of Ylara, Commander Tal received the signal and turned to Chief Engineer Ro. It's time. Ro nodded, her fingers dancing across the control interface they had integrated with the Ilari crystal technology. Activating defense network, now. Across the planet, the massive crystalline formations that dotted the landscape began to glow with increasing intensity. Energy surged through the modified conduits, creating a network of power that connected every major crystal node on Ylara. As the energy reached critical levels, a shimmering field began to form in the upper atmosphere, a crystalline shield that encased the entire planet in orbit. The World Eater detected the unexpected energy surge and adjusted its approach. Massive weapon arrays on its surface oriented toward Ylara, charging with ominous green energy. "They're preparing to fire on the planetary shield," Sato warned. "Stay on mission," Vance reminded his crew. "Our job is to keep the escorts occupied while the ground team implements Phase 3. The World Eater fired, a devastating beam of energy striking the crystalline shield. The shield flickered but held, the unique properties of the Ylara crystals absorbing and redistributing the energy throughout the network. On the planet's surface, the impact was felt as a tremor that shook the crystal temple. Lieutenant Kale, preparing for the infiltration mission with his strike team, looked up as dust fell from the ancient ceiling. "That's our cue," he said to his team, which included Commander Zell and a squad of UTF Special Forces. "The shield won't hold forever. We need to move now." Dr. Venn approached, carrying a secure container. "The biological disruptors," she explained, handing it to Kale. "Two versions, as discussed with the captain. The red vial will sever the connection. The blue vial will destroy it entirely." Kale accepted the container with a solemn nod. "The captain will make the call when we're in position." As the strike team prepared to board their stealth shuttle, Sental Thero approached, accompanied by a group of Ylara warriors. "We will join you," he announced. Kale frowned. "With respect, Sental, this mission requires specialized training and equipment. It also requires knowledge of crystalline harmonics," Thero countered. "The World Eater's defenses will include barriers that respond to specific frequencies. My warriors can navigate these barriers in ways your technology cannot." Commander Tal, overseeing the operation, considered this. "He's right, Lieutenant. The Ylari's natural affinity for crystalline technology could be crucial." After a moment's hesitation, Kale nodded. "Very well. But you follow my lead once we're aboard." As the expanded strike team boarded the shuttle, Dr. Venn pulled Commander Zell aside. "You understand what we're asking you to do?" she asked quietly. The cybernetic being's expression remained difficult to read, but his voice carried a hint of emotion. "To potentially destroy the consciousness that created me." "Yes, I understand. And you're willing to proceed?" Zell was silent for a moment before responding. "What the Dominion offers is not life but enslavement. True consciousness requires choice. I choose freedom, for myself and for all those still trapped within the hive." With that, he boarded the shuttle, leaving Ylara to wonder about the nature of consciousness and the moral complexities of their mission. In orbit, the battle had intensified. The Aegis weaved through the Zyphar escort formation, its advanced maneuverability allowing it to avoid the worst of their attacks while inflicting significant damage with precision strikes. But the ship had not emerged unscathed. Multiple hull breaches had been reported, and shields were down to 40%. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen called out, "the strike team's shuttle has launched. They're on approach to the World Eater." Vance nodded. "Maintain current engagement. Keep the escorts focused on us." He turned to tactical. "Status of the planetary shield?" "Holding, but weakening under sustained bombardment," Sato reported. "Estimated failure in 27 minutes. "Then we hold the line for 27 minutes, Vance declared. Reroute emergency power to shields and weapons. We need to buy the strike team time to complete their mission. As the Aegis continued its desperate battle against the Zyphar escorts, the stealth shuttle carrying Kale's strike team approached the massive World Eater. Using intelligence provided by Commander Zell, they identified a maintenance access point near the vessel's equatorial region, a blind spot in its formidable defenses. Approaching insertion point, the shuttle pilot announced. Stealth systems at maximum. No indication they've detected us. Kale turned to his team. Once we're aboard, we move fast. Commander Zell will guide us to the central neural node. Ylara warriors will handle any crystalline barriers. UTF forces provide security. Questions? There were none. Each member of the strike team understood the stakes and their role in the mission. For Ylara, Sental Thero said solemnly. For all free consciousness, Commander Zell added, the shuttle docked with the World Eater, magnetic clamps securing it to the biomechanical hull. Using specialized cutting tools, they created an entry point and moved into the massive vessel. The interior of the World Eater was unlike anything the UTF forces had encountered before, a nightmarish blend of organic and mechanical elements. Pulsing conduits carried glowing fluids throughout the structure, while the walls themselves seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting in a slow rhythm. Zyphar drones moved through the corridors with singular purpose, their cybernetic bodies connected directly to the ship's systems. Stay in the maintenance tunnels, Zell advised, leading them through narrow passages that ran parallel to the main corridors. Drone activity is minimal here. As they progressed deeper into the World Eater, they encountered the first of the crystalline barriers Thero had predicted, energy fields that blocked access to the ship's more sensitive areas. The Ylara warriors stepped forward, their skin glowing as they interfaced with the barriers, manipulating the crystalline frequencies until the fields dissipated. Remarkable, Kale murmured, his neural implants recording the process for later analysis. They continued their advance, encountering occasional resistance from security drones that Zell hadn't anticipated. The UTF Special Forces handled these threats efficiently, using neural disruptors to disable the drones without alerting the hive mind to their presence. Finally, they reached the central chamber, a vast, cathedral-like space dominated by a pulsating crystalline structure that glowed with eerie blue-green light. Thousands of conduits connected to this central node, carrying neural impulses throughout the World Eater and, by extension, to the entire Zyphar fleet. The neural nexus, Zell explained, his voice hushed with a mixture of awe and revulsion. The physical manifestation of the hive mind within this vessel. Kale activated his secure communicator. Strike team to Aegis. We've reached the target. Awaiting final authorization. Captain Vance's voice came through, distorted by interference but still clear enough to understand. Status of planetary shield. Failing, sir, came the response from the Aegis. Estimated collapse in 3 minutes. There was a moment of silence before Vance spoke again. Lieutenant Kale, you have authorization to proceed with Operation Last Light. The choice of disruptor is yours, based on conditions on the ground. Kale understood the weight of responsibility being placed on him. The captain was giving him the authority to decide whether to sever the Zyphar connection or destroy it entirely. He turned to Commander Zell. You know this enemy better than any of us. Which option offers the best chance of stopping the invasion permanently? Zell's partially mechanical eyes focused on the neural nexus. Severing the connection would free the consciousnesses but leave them intact. Many would resist, unable to cope with sudden individuality. The invasion might continue, though in a disorganized fashion. And destruction would end the threat completely, Zell acknowledged. But at the cost of billions of potential individuals who never had the chance to know freedom. Kale considered this, then looked to Sental Pharaoh. And what does your prophecy say? The Ylara leader's skin shifted through complex patterns of blue and gold. That the Guardians would face a choice between destruction and transformation. That the path chosen would echo across the stars for generations to come. With that cryptic response, the decision remained with Kale. He opened the container Dr. Van had provided, looking at the two vials, red for severance, blue for destruction. In orbit, the planetary shield began to collapse under the World Eater's relentless assault. The Aegis, heavily damaged but still fighting, continued to engage the Zyphar escorts, drawing their fire away from the vulnerable planet below. On the bridge, Captain Vance watched the tactical display with growing concern. Shield failure imminent, Sato reported. The World Eater is positioning for atmospheric entry. Vance's hand tightened on the arm of his command chair. Everything now depended on Kale's team and the choice they would make. In the neural nexus chamber, Kale made his decision. He took the red vial, severance, not destruction. We didn't come here to commit genocide, he said firmly. We came to stop an invasion and free a people who never knew they were enslaved. Commander Zell nodded, a gesture that seemed to carry both approval and apprehension. The transition will be difficult for many. But it offers the possibility of redemption. Together, they approached the neural nexus, preparing to inject the disruptor into the pulsating crystalline heart of the Zyphar hive mind. As they did, alarms began to sound throughout the chamber. Their presence had finally been detected. We need to move now, Kale urged as security drones began to converge on their position. The UTF Special Forces formed a defensive perimeter while the Ylara warriors used their crystalline abilities to temporarily disrupt the incoming drones. Kale and Zell reached the nexus, the vial of red liquid ready to be deployed. For freedom, Zell said, his voice carrying unexpected emotion. For all consciousness, Kale replied, echoing Zell's earlier sentiment. Together, they injected the disruptor into the neural nexus. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the crystalline structure began to pulse with increasing intensity, its color shifting from blue-green to a brilliant white. Throughout the World Eater, Zyphar drones suddenly stopped in their tracks, their coordinated movements giving way to confusion and disorientation as the hive-mind connection was severed. In orbit, the Zyphar escorts broke formation, their attacks becoming erratic and uncoordinated. On the bridge of the Aegis, Vance watched in amazement as the Zyphar fleet's organized assault collapsed into chaos. They did it, he breathed. Status of the World Eater. Power fluctuations detected throughout the vessel, Sato reported. It's withdrawing from orbit. Indeed, the massive Zyphar vessel was pulling away from Ylara, its weapon systems powering down as the newly individualized consciousnesses within struggled to comprehend their sudden freedom. Strike team to Aegis, Kale's voice came through the calm. Mission accomplished. Requesting immediate extraction. The situation here is complicated. Complicated how? Vance asked. The Zyphar aren't attacking anymore, Kale explained. But they're not exactly surrendering either. It's more like mass confusion. Billions of newly individual consciousnesses trying to figure out what they are. Vance considered this. Return to the Aegis. We'll establish communication with the World Eater once they've had time to adjust. He turned to his communications officer. Any word from UTF Command? Yes, sir, Chen replied, surprise evident in her voice. A fleet of UTF vessels has just entered the system. They're hailing us. Vance straightened his uniform, preparing to face the consequences of his actions. On screen. The view screen activated to show Admiral Zhao, commander of the UTF's 7th Fleet. Her expression was stern but not hostile. Captain Vance. It seems we arrived just in time to miss all the excitement. Admiral, Vance acknowledged. I take full responsibility for the violation of the Prime Directive. My actions were necessary and justified, Zhao interrupted. Your transmission reached us 3 days ago. After reviewing your assessment of the Zyphar threat, UTF Command authorized intervention. We've been trying to reach you, but communications have been difficult in this sector. Relief washed over Vance, though he maintained his professional demeanor. Then you're not here to court-martial me? A hint of a smile touched Zhao's lips. On the contrary, Captain. I'm here to relieve you so you can get your ship repaired, and to help manage the diplomatic situation you've created with both the Ylara and these, former Zyphar. As the UTF fleet moved into position around Ylara, the battle for the planet came to an unexpected conclusion. Not with the destruction of an enemy, but with the birth of a new form of consciousness, billions of individuals who would need to learn what it meant to exist outside the hive mind. On the surface, Sental Pharaoh stood in the crystal temple, gazing at the ancient prophecy carvings with new understanding. The final panel, which had seemed ambiguous before, now clearly depicted not destruction but transformation, the Devourers becoming something new under the guidance of the Guardians. The 7th convergence is complete, he murmured as Commander Tal joined him. But this is not an ending. It is a beginning. Mira nodded, watching as UTF medical teams worked alongside Ylara healers to tend to the wounded from both sides. A beginning none of us could have predicted. The best beginnings often are, Thero replied with wisdom that transcended his world's technological limitations. Your captain chose transformation over destruction. That choice will echo across the stars for generations to come, just as the prophecy foretold. As the twin suns of Ylara set on the first day of peace, the united Terran fleet vessels stood guard over a world that had been forever changed by their intervention. Captain Vance, standing on the observation deck of the Aegis, watched the planet below with a mixture of pride and humility. Commander Tal had joined him, having returned to the ship for debriefing. UTF Command is calling it a victory, she informed him. The first successful defense against a full-scale Zyphar invasion. Is it victory when the enemy ceases to exist as an enemy? Vance mused. We didn't defeat the Zyphar, we transformed them. Thanks to Lieutenant Kale's choice, Mira noted. He'll be receiving a commendation. Vance nodded approvingly. Well deserved. His decision embodied the best of UTF principles, even as we bent the rules to breaking. Speaking of rules, Mira said carefully, what happens with Ylara now? They've been exposed to advanced technology, alien life, interstellar conflict. They can never go back to what they were, Vance acknowledged. But perhaps they can move forward on their own terms. Admiral Zhao has proposed a modified protectorate status, UTF guidance without direct interference in their cultural development. And the former Zyphar? A more complex question, Vance admitted. Commander Zell has offered to help those who wish to embrace individuality. For others, it may be a longer journey. He turned to face his first officer. We've opened a door, Mira. What comes through it is yet to be determined. As night fell over Ylara, the stars emerged, the same stars that had witnessed humanity's own journey from a single world to a force among the cosmos. The United Terran Fleet had been established not only to defend Earth's interests but to ensure that developing civilizations were given the chance to grow without interference or destruction. Today, they had done more than that. They had given an entire species the chance to discover individuality, and in doing so, perhaps rediscovered something of their own humanity. The battle for Ylara was over. But the journey of both Ylara and former Zyphar was just beginning, a journey that would be watched over by the guardians from Earth, who had learned that sometimes, the greatest victory comes not from destroying an enemy, but from transforming them into something new.